Hey folks, Snake coming at you on a Saturday evening at the end of July, on July 30th. So the reason I'm making this video tonight is this is really more of an informational message I want to chat with you folks about, which is that if you are new to the lightsaber hobby, I want you to know that there are a lot of really cool, awesome sabers out there that you can collect, that you don't necessarily need to pay an arm and a leg for, that you can get from reputable companies that have good customer service, that will treat you, with dignity and with respect. And in my opinion, the best way to access those companies are through joining up on groups on Facebook that are Saber related groups, and asking some general questions about where to go based on your selection criteria of the kind of saber you're looking for. And you will get a lot of really good responses, a lot of good feedback, a lot of good suggestions. And part of the reason, part of what's prompting me to make this video and to let people know about these groups on Facebook is that more and more often these days, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of people jump into these groups after they've gotten their first saber or two, and they've had just some really awful experiences with their, buying a saber for the first time, because they ended up going to a company that they either saw an ad for, like on Instagram or TikTok somewhere, or that came up in like a Google search, and they ended up going with that company because that was really all the information they had to go on. Or, they went and saw like an influencer of some sort on Instagram who's basically just partnering up with a company for, for clicks and likes and, or maybe for some sort of money deal, or, some sort of deal where they get product, where they may not necessarily know, the quality of the company at all, or as well as you would like to be able to be helpful. But what I will say is that on Facebook, there are a lot of lightsaber-centric groups with a lot of knowledgeable people that have been in this hobby since the beginning, people who have been in this hobby for at least 5+ years. They have really, really good feedback and information that they'd be willing to share. And people who are also really friendly. It's a really, really good community. It's a very unique community. Of all of the hobbies, I'm 50 years old now, and of all the hobbies I've ever been involved in throughout my life, I've been a gamer for a long time. I've been a poker player for a long time. And, lightsabers is sort of like my most recent hobby that I got into about 3 years ago. Of all the other hobbies that I've ever been involved in my life, the lightsaber hobby is by far has the most dynamic, the most friendly, and just the coolest group of people that I've gotten to know, and gotten to learn from. And so I can't stress enough how important it is to get involved in this community before you make that first lightsaber purchase. It's just a great place to learn before you go out and start spending money, because this hobby is not cheap. I mean, depending on, I know a lot of us have different lifestyles, we have different earning levels, etc., etc. But even for those of us who make like really good money, there's still an idea in our head for what we consider to be like a reasonable amount of money to spend on a saber. So whether you have a budget of $200 or whether you have a budget of like $1,500, there are saber companies out there, or or custom services out there that you can access, that will be right for you, that you won't necessarily be able to find by doing a Google search or by following an influencer on Instagram or TikTok. But you will be able to find them, by joining up with a with like a generic lightsaber group on Facebook and just asking questions, or even searching on their historical posts and seeing what types of answers other people got when they asked those questions. Also, I know there's a lot of other sources on the internet out there that used to keep like knowledge bases or act as review sites, but unfortunately, when you run those type of sites, it's just constant work to keep them updated, and so a lot of those types of places on the internet have gotten outdated over time, and so they may not be giving you the most up-to-date best recommendations you can find. But a lot of us in the Saber community who are constantly buying and selling lightsabers, constantly staying up with which company's doing the next cool saber run, etc., etc. A lot of us there in these groups can give you a lot of good up-to-date advice about where to go and about where not to go. So that's why I wanted to make this video. I just wanted to let people know out there, if you're looking to buy your first saber, get involved in some Facebook groups. And what I'll do is I'll leave some links to some generic good quality lightsaber groups, ones that have a lot of activity in them, a lot of per day posts, that I think that have really welcoming communities, memberships in them. And I'll sort of filter out. I won't drop links for groups that are specific to a particular company, because I don't want to give any sort of bias over with certain companies over others, because there are a lot of saber groups on Facebook that are sort of focused around like a particular saber company, and those groups are really good too. But sort of for the purpose of this message, I'll just index links in my video description for the lightsaber groups on Facebook that are sort of more generic and really helpful. Ones that have good healthy membership sizes. Some might be private, some might be public, but there's just a handful of them that I'd recommend in that regard. And hopefully, if you're new to the saber community, looking to buy your first saber, and this video comes up in your feed doing a YouTube search, hopefully this can be helpful for you, and hopefully you're able to get on Facebook, join one of these groups, and find out the information you're looking for before you have a really bad experience buying a saber, based off of some advertisement you saw on Google or something. And then the last thing I will say is if you do get on Facebook, or if you're already on Facebook, and you see those ads that come up in your feed for lightsaber companies that just sort of drop ads, be very wary of those. Every once in a while, those ads are done by reputable companies, but more often than not, they're done by sort of these fly-by-night vendor companies that are not particularly reputable, that are not that are not well known, that don't have a lot of reviews done on them on the internet, or probably haven't been around very long. And so I would in general, I would avoid buying lightsabers from those ads that you see that pop up in your feed on Facebook. And instead, if you have an idea in mind about something that you want to buy, like I want a Luke Skywalker Episode 3 lightsaber with, that has certain features, go into one of these saber groups and say, hey, I'm looking to buy this type of lightsaber. Can you all give me some recommendations on where the best place to find one would be? My budget is somewhere around $400 to $500. And you'll get a lot of helpful responses, as an example. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to say on this video. So thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for watching, and may the force be with you. Take care.